In this video, we go from a completely blank screen with a blinking cursor to this. Alright, so we have our empty project here. I've also added some images that I've grabbed online. We'll talk about those later. We go ahead and add some files. We're going to start off by adding a game.py file, which will be our main file. I'm going to add a player file, and I am also going to add a new alien file and a bullet file. Okay, so in game, we need a game loop. Every game needs a game loop. That's going to be while game underscore running, do the game. So we need that variable game running. That's going to be true. And we're going to need our pygame. So we're going to import pygame. And we're going to need a screen. So screen is going to be equal to pygame.display.setMode. And we're going to set the size. So we're just going to have kind of, we're going to have a config file. So I forgot to add that. We'll go ahead, add config. And we'll add in screen underscore width here. It will be 400 by 800. So screen height is equal to 800. And then we also want a scale variable, which is basically going to be the blocks that we have. And that is going to be, I think it's 25. Sorry, we were creating the screen. So on the screen, the size is going to be a tuple, which is config.screenWidth and config.screenHeight. Okay, so we just pass in the size and we accept the defaults for all the other ones. Next, we need a clock. Clock equals pygame.time. .clock. We're going to tick that in our game loop. And we will do 24 for now, which is the frame rate. And in here we will fill our screen with a black color, so that's going to just be 0, 0, 0, no color. And this is the basic of our game loop, so we can now run it. And there it is. Now we can't exit it actually, which is cool. So it's actually a little bit too, I want to do 400 by 600. So adjust that. Now we're going to allow for exiting. So we have to get the game events from Python game. So we're going to say for event in pygame.event.get. Now we'll just read in any input and we're going to say if event.type is equal to pygame.quit, which is them hitting the X in the window. Then we are going to set game for running equals false. We're going to say if event.type is equal to key down, pygame.keyDown, which is a whole bunch of, could be a whole bunch of different inputs. So we're going to say if event.key is equal to pygame.escape, then we will also quit. Don't forget the colon, and we will run that. So now we can quit the game, fine. Okay, so next we want our player to render. So we're going to say player equals player, and we're going to pass it the screen. Go ahead and create the player now. So import pygame, and we need to define it as a class. Def underscore init. We're passing in the screen. Say self.screen is equal to screen. We've now defined that as a variable on the player. There also needs to be a position for the player. Now this player is only going to move on the x-axis. We don't need to worry about the y-axis at all. So We'll just start him in this position, 5, should be fine. And we're going to set the image to, we're going to load a game from pygame. So we're going to say image.load, and we have to pass in the file name. So I've already provided the player here, player image. So it's in the folder images/player. Now we want to take this image, it's going to be too big, so we're going to transform it. So we'll just do self.image equals self.image and pygame.transform. And then we will have to pass in what we're going to transform it to. It's transform.scale. And we're going to use the config.scale variable that we created previously. So it doesn't currently know what that means, so we're going to import this name. So we import config, now we have it there. Okay, we also want a render method. So it just takes in itself. And we're going to create a rectangle. So we're going to do self.position times, we're just going to do self.position. And this is actually wrong. What we actually want this to be is config.screen width, and we want the player to start in the middle. So we're going to just divide that by 5. Sorry, by 2. Dope. And that should give us the middle position. We also want this to be an integer. So that should round it. Okay, so this is his x-axis, and he's always going to be on the same y-axis, so we can draw him. This is basically saying where we want to draw the image that we're going to be rendering. So always, this is the x-axis based on the player's position. On the y-axis, that's going to be config dot, and it's going to be the height minus that scale that we created. And then we want to put in the size of this rectangle that we're drawing. That's just going to be scale by scale. And then we are going to actually draw the image with that rectangle. So self.screen.lit, and we pass in self.image plus that rectangle. Tell it where to draw the image. Okay, so now we have created the player, but we don't know what a player actually is, so we need to import that. We'll just hit Alt-Enter to automatically do that. After we've handled updates, we will call player.render. And that should draw the player. Let's see if that's working. And it's not, because we need to call pygame.display.flip. I never understood what this flip does, actually. And there's our player. Now we can't currently move the player around, so let's add that in. It's going to be in the handling. Say if event.key is equal to pygame.left, then we are going to update the player's position, and we're just going to do it directly here because it's just a simple example. So if it's going left, it's losing a y-axis, and we're going to always move it by that scale factor. Don't forget to actually assign it, and this will be very similar for hitting the right key, but this time we're going to add that scale factor to it. Let's see if that's working. So we're now moving our player around. So what if we also want to shoot? So we're going to say if event.key is equal to pygame.space. Now we're going to create a bullet. So we're going to say bullet equals bullet, and we will also pass the screen in there. So now we got to create this. We're going to copy the code from the player into the bullet. We're going to replace this with a bullet. And now the position is going to get passed in, and it's going to be an array. So we will pass in the X position and the Y position. And we'll also pass in a speed to determine which way that bullet is actually going. So this will no longer be the player image, but the bullet image. And we're going to transform it even smaller, maybe half of a player. and we are going to set the speed. So for that rectangle, we'll just add in that division by 2. And we're also going to need an update method. So we're going to say def.update self, and what's this going to do? This is going to move the bullet on the y-axis based on the speed. So we're going to say self.position y-axis is equal to that position plus the speed. So this will change where we're drawing the bullet every time we draw it. Okay, now in our main game loop, we're going to add 2 arrays. First one's going to be bullets, an empty array, and we're also going to add in aliens, also an empty array. Every time that a new bullet is created, we're going to add it to the bullets array by calling bullets.append bullet. We still don't know what a bullet is, so we're going to hit Alt-Enter on this and enter to import the bullet. We're going to loop through all bullets now for bullet in bullets, and we are going to call bullet.render, or update first, and bullet.render. So now when we run it, we will crash. So we forgot to pass in the X and Y position, so the Y position for this one will always be the player's position, and the X position will always be the player's position. So player.position is the X position, and play config dot screen height minus config dot scale is always going to be the Y. We want this to be going from down to up. So starts at 0, goes down to 600, goes from 600 to 0 for the bullet, so that's going to be negative for the speed. Now we run that. So we crashed because I think this needs to be an integer. Okay, so the error I made here is we actually need, since this is an array, we actually need to reference the first position in the array. So if we run that now, you can see that creating bullets, but they're not actually updating at all. So what would that cause? What would cause that not to actually update? So let's go through the game code. We are calling update. Okay, so the reason for not actually updating is when we're rendering it, this is the start position, which we are passing in, so we don't need this here. We actually just need to call self.position1. It's not like the player where we're always rendering the player in one position. All right, now that we've fixed that, we have the game rendering and the bullets flying up, so now we need our aliens. Well, what we're basically going to be doing is adding a level function here. So we're going to start at level 0, and then what we're going to say is we're going to say, this is going to be our level check, so I'm going to add a comment. One comment in the whole program. Oh yeah. So we're going to say if alien dot count if aliens dot length, so we want to find out the number of aliens that we have, and we're going to say if aliens less than or equal to 0, should never be less than, but if it's less than or equal to 0, then we go up a level. So then level is going to go up 1, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create a whole bunch of aliens. So we're going to set that, do it in the config, I guess. So we'll do number of monsters. And we'll start with 30. Start with 30. So 30 monsters per level. And we are going to loop from the number of monsters that we have added, which is going to be the variable x in range number of monsters. And then we will add, config.number of monsters. And then for each one of these, we will add a new monster. So we will say monster equals monster. Pass in the screen. We are going to pass in an X position and a Y position and a speed. Speed was going to be the level. So as we go up in levels, they will get faster and faster. We don't currently have them. Sorry, I keep calling it monsters. This is aliens. Let's refactor that. I'm still in the Pokemon game. Where's the rename? Number of aliens. It's going to be alien. All right, so now we're going to go to player, go to bullet. We will copy this. We will paste that into alien. We'll rename this alien. We have an X position, a Y position, a speed. This needs to be alien. This can be the size of the scale, same size as player, same size as player. And in this case, the aliens are moving from left to right and right to left. So this is going to be the x-axis that is changing. They will drop at one point, but not going to start there. Back to game, we're passing in. We don't know what this is. We have to hit Alt-Enter to import it. We'll import up there. So now we need to determine the x and the y axis. So we are going to track what line we are adding the aliens to. So we'll start on line 1, and that will be the y-axis. We're just going to multiply it by that scale, passing in. And the x position, we are going to track in a separate variable. We're going to start at, we'll start at 0. That's fine. We're going to pass that in. So here we're actually going to set x position is equal to, after this, we're going to set x position equal to x position plus 1. And here we are going to multiply that x position by the scale times 2. Okay, let's see how that looks. So we have no monsters right now. No aliens right now that I can see because A, we're not adding them to the array. So we are going to append it. Then we are going to do a loop through and render them again. For alien in aliens, we're going to call update and render. So there they are, but they're all on one line. So to get them to drop down, we are going to add an if statement here. We're going to say if at the x position that we're passing in for the aliens plus some arbitrary number, which we'll just say is 100 right now. We're going to say if all of that is greater than the width of the screen, then we want that to drop down. So line equals line plus 1. And in addition, we're also going to reset the x position. So we'll go back to 0. See if that works. And that does work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 across. So it's 7 across, which I think is fine. And how many rows were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could add a couple more rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I don't know. Do we want a lot of them? We could do 10. Should be 70. That's a lot of aliens. Yeah, that looks like a lot of Space Invader games I've played, so I think that's fine. We will now determine if they need to basically drop down to the next level, and that's going to happen in here. So we're going to basically say if any of these aliens' positions, alien.position, which is x, greater than or equal to the screen width, then we're going to drop down. And we're just going to set a variable to drop them down. So we're going to have to define this in the start of our loop as true, sorry, as false. So we're not dropping monsters, but if this condition is true, we will drop them. And after we've done all the rendering, we're going to say if drop monsters. Oh, I did it again. I did it again. Let's rename that to drop aliens. So if drop aliens, then for each alien, we are going to call alien.drop. So that will be a method on the alien. We'll go ahead and write that. It's going to be called drop. And what's this going to do? We're going to update the y position. So position 1 is equal to, and it's just going to be self.position 1 plus the scale. All right, let's see if that works. That should not be x. Did not work. That should be 0, not 1. Bloop. Let's see if that worked. All right, so they go down, but they are going down too fast. And the reason for that is when we're calling the update, we should call update and then do that test. That should give us what we need. So I was wrong, that's not why. What actually happens is in drop we need to change the direction that they are going. So we're just going to invert self.speed, which will start sending them in the opposite direction. And I might need to undo that previous change of flipping around that I did. No. And we've got to do it the other way as well. So we're going to add an or. Alien.position 0 is less than or equal to 0. And if we wanted to kind of just give it a bit of buffer, we could do like -10, -5, something like that. And that would just look a little bit more natural. They start at 0, so that's not going to work. And I think it would have to be less than. So we can kind of see them getting closer and closer. So now what we need to do is when there's a collision with the bullet, then we need to basically kill one of the aliens. So the question is, when do we want to do bullet detection? I think what we're going to do is for each, before we call update on the bullet, we'll see if there's any intersection, and that should, the bullets won't have updated yet, the aliens won't have updated yet. That should be fine. Should be good enough. So we're just going to loop through all of the alien for alien in aliens. We're going to say if alien dot collide with the bullet position 0 and bullet dot position y. So if that happens, then we're going to do alien.killed equals true. So we are going to add this in to the alien, a variable to track whether or not it is alive or not. So self.killed equals false. Okay, so we want to write this collide method. So def collide. I'm just going to take in two positions, an x and a y. Getting lazy, we'll just do xy, that's fine. We're going to say if self.killed return false, because you can't collide with something that is dead. And then we're going to say if self.position, so the x position is less than or equal to x position that we pass in, but we're going to make it a bound by that scale. So there's going to be a little bit of leeway there. We're going to say and self.position x greater than or equal to x. I think we can just do x here. We might have to adjust it a little bit. We're going to say and self.position y, which is 1, is less than or equal to y plus config.scale. Again, just giving a little bit, we don't want it to be too precise on the collision. That would be no fun. Should really be basing this on like, well, no, I think this is fine. Config and self.position y is greater than y. So all these conditions need to be true, and we will say, yes, we collided. Otherwise, we're going to return false. So we're going to say if here alien.killed just continue. And we're also going to remove that one. And I think that should be fine. Let's give that a run. And there's our first error. So alien has no attribute collide. So I spelt it wrong in one spot. Collide is spelled with 2 L's. Hey, I can't spell, so don't judge me. Don't judge me. Well, something's wrong. So something in our collision method is wrong. So let's go take a look at that. I think we actually want to kind of inverse this. So let's actually do x is less than or equal to self.position plus the config.scale. Yeah, let's give that a run. So it seems like bullets that are no longer there are still killing them. That's a problem. I have this one wrong too. Okay, so that looks correct. The only thing is we want the bullets to actually get removed as well. So we're going to also go in here and say bullet.killed equals true. And then we're going to loop through all the bullets again. Or I might actually just go, can we do that right here? Well, we'll just do a straight loop. Bullets.remove bullet. And that will get rid of them. And we actually need to add that variable. So self.killed equals false. So now when we kill all the aliens, should go to the next level and they'll speed up. Man, I'm really bad at this game. And now because the level is up 1 level, don't shoot the ones in the middle. Now because the level's up 1 level, they're going to be going faster. Looks like some are getting a little bit off center. Might be when we're dropping them down. They're, I don't know. Not quite sure what's going on there. So we don't really have an end condition right now. It's just we don't have an end, yeah, or any score or anything like that. But those are all things that we could add. Maybe next video we'll add them. Yeah, they move a little bit. That's kind of wonky. Bum, 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 bum. There's also the forts that could get added in and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, okay guys, I hope that this was a fun, quick little video, and hope you enjoyed watching. If you enjoyed this content, then I'd appreciate it if you give a comment, give a like, and subscribe.